What is up, my friends? Match day 9 of the Serie A season. Roma takes on Monza. Lots of other exciting matches taking place thus far. We could see Inter going against Torino. Let's see what happens with Milan and Juventus. Roma look to make up ground in their chase for the top four. Let's get right to it. We're going to be looking at the Roma Monza predicted formations as by Gazzetta dello Sport, and then we're going to check out the Mourinho press conference. I'm sure at one point along the next 5-10 minutes, we're also going to talk about the other scores and matches in a little bit more detail. But yeah, as we get into it, we could see, as I pull up your screen here, that it looks like it's going to be Belotti with Lukaku from the start. Dybala, he's going to try to make it back for next Sunday. I don't know if I'm optimistic about that or not, but we do see him training and putting in the work. Paredes is rumored to be at the center of that, with Cristante starting back in midfield in place for Llorente, who returns from injury, with Indica and his growing confidence alongside Mancini. Awar gets the start ahead of Pellegrini, who was also injured for some time, probably more so into November, where Spinazzola is predicted to get the start over Zalewski due to his poor form. And if you've been following me on Twitter, you know that has sparked some controversy as I made the point that he's much more of an attacker than a defender. GDS is also saying that Christensen is going to be starting out on the right. I think that's going to be Karsdorp, to be honest with you. El Shaarawy is not featured here. And we're going to be definitely talking about these rumors which have been going around about the Roma players in regards to the gambling controversy. But Monza should not be rooted out. They've got a decent coach, Di Gregorio, good keeper. Pablo Mari is a player I rate. Caldirola, Pessina, their captain, has grown not into, I wouldn't say like an international status Azzurri type player, but he's a dependable center mid, and occasionally he comes up with a big match. Ahead of him will be Colpani, who can't stop scoring, and Colombo as the striker with Pereira out on the wing. And I think that Augusto was a big miss for them as he's joined Inter, but Monza have been just, you can see a similar formation here. Palladino has been doing a really good job with them. We look on the bench and we could see that for Roma, it's going to be Svilar, Boer, Smalling, probably. As far as GDS says, me, I say improbably. I don't think it's going to happen. Bove, Zalewski, Salik, D'Alessio, Pagano, Pisili, SES, and Azmoun. Maybe Azmoun, because of Dybala's absence, get some crucial time here. And any notable guys, Makin, who used to play for Roma's Primavera, is on the bench for the Monza. Vignato, they're not too deep there, but we see Gomez. That's the controversy, right? Gomez, 2 years, one of my favorite players. I feel bad for him, but dude, don't do the crime if you can't do the time. Isn't that what they say? Okay, let's move quickly to the Mourinho pre-presser. And he's first asked Monza, or he's told Monza is going through an excellent moment of form. And he says, us too. We've had 3 wins in a row. And you're right. They had a good championship last year and they signed good players. It's an excellent team. It will be a difficult match. How's Smalling? How's Llorente? Can you tell us about the last month and a half of English? I'm not sure what they meant by this. I tried to always translate these pressers as best as I can. Maybe he meant like, how is Abraham doing as well as Smalling, because they're both English? I don't know. We move. He says, I'm not the ideal person to explain in detail. What I understood from communicating with the doctors is that it is an injury that causes pain, and afterwards it's difficult to work with the pain and resist, even if it is a type of injury that sometimes forces you to return to the field even with pain. There is a value that is used in various clubs, which is the VAS, which is the degree of pain. It is not a problem due to the worsening of the injury, but is the ability to work with this pain. He overcame this limitation. He worked without the team last week. Yesterday was his first day with us, Smalling, where we did very low intensity work. We did tactical and didactic work, and he did it with us, but he won't be available tomorrow. Llorente, however, yes. He spent 3 days with us, and 2 were of a certain intensity. He's available. Renato, Sanchez, and Pellegrini are not like Kumbula and Abraham. I'm happy to see Kumbula and Abraham, who have passed the greater difficulties and already set foot on the field. When this happens, I'm optimistic. Nothing for Dybala. He goes on the pitch with a trainer, not with us. Says, can Llorente play and Cristante will return to the midfield? Renato Sanchez, when will he return? Llorente's fine. The work he's done with us, like he said, it's been fine the past 3 days. He'll be at our disposal. Sanchez continues not to work with the team. Emphasis not. I hope he can next week. He already works on the pitch, but on an individual level. I'm not, speaking off the record here, I'm not hopeful for not Renato for the rest of the season, to be honest. I Haven't seen any signs which say that his muscles are improving. I think it's going to be a similar theme. He plays one game, he's out 3, and that's simply not good enough, my friends. Next question. The last time there was a lot of controversy against Monza, Palladino defined the behavior of your bench as scandalous. He says, I don't want to lower the level of communication. I don't know Palladino as a coach, but usually when he is like this, I know the teams. Teams are consequences of their own potential, but also that of the coach. They had an excellent championship and are doing it again this year. If they do it, it's because Palladino is good. So he kind of becomes the bigger man here and doesn't feed into Palladino's drama from last year. Compared to the beginning of last year, Roma are more cynical. Is it Lukaku who changed you? Will you play alongside Belotti tomorrow? And he says, I find it hard to comment. Sometimes I struggle with my guys not getting what they deserve. We scored beautiful team goals that if another team with another record had scored them, it would almost be a record. We really scored beautiful goals. In terms of construction, we are better than last year. When we are all, and we managed to develop with all the most talented players, we play better than last year. First of all, however, come the points. Lukaku changes the numbers from a quantitative point of view. He scored 20 to 25 goals this season, and it changes everything for you. At the same time, it is enough to compare Belotti from last year, who scored 0 goals, and this year is already 3 in 8 games. I won't tell you if they play together tomorrow. I think they do. Paolo is important to us for his creativity and his positioning on the pitch, which is less static than the others. We have a good group of players up front, SCS, Belotti, Asmun. We are in good shape there despite Paolo's absence. One thing that Mourinho gets criticized a lot is for creating alibis and being like, oh, I didn't have this player, I didn't have that player. He's actually saying, no, like, we're okay. We're missing our MVP, most important player, but we've got options. It's truth. Regardless of what you think about Mourinho at this point, been very controversial, whether people are against his tactics or say that he throws players under the bus. Here he's doing quite the opposite. On football betting, from your experience, what do you think? He says, I talked to my parents. I didn't have to do it with the others. I think by parents, he may have meant the ownership. I may have translated that incorrectly there. He says, I didn't have to do it with the boys. With Zalewski, we even laughed a little because I was the first to talk to him when he still didn't really know what had come out. I talked to both of them, and I'm happy with what we said to each other. He's talking about El Shaarawy. I'm just a little sad, for example, in Portugal on the front page, there was Mourinho's players investigated for football betting. It's damaging to their image if they're not guilty. Yeah, you bet it is. In this case, I trust them, and they have enough relationship with me to tell me the truth, even if it's ugly. I trust them and the club the same. Roma, who usually don't make official statements, have done so, and when they do it, it's because we're all together and calm. With the others, it will be a legal and judicial situation, I think is how that should have translated. We have to wait and trust justice. If someone has made a mistake, they usually pay. Second to last question here. At what point is Ndika in the work? Is he in the setup? Will he keep his job with the return of Llorente and Smalling? Will he keep his spot? And he says in the last 15 days, he hasn't learned anything from us because he wasn't there. He played with the national team, which is excellent, and plays 4-man. It's never a drama. It improves the tactical culture of a young player. I interpret it as a growth. He's not perfect. He has a lot to learn. But I tell you that the players who have been with us for 2.5 years still make interpretation errors. It's normal for someone who has just arrived to do so. In Cagliari, he played a super clean and balanced game. He played a lot good. He did well, and I'm happy. It's useless to talk about starters or not. When we're all behind, we're 5, without Kumbula, and there are many games to play. The problem now is even if Llorente is back, it's impossible to talk about who plays and who doesn't. When you have them, you can all do a bit turnover. He's like, you can switch the players up. You can have a rotation, which is important, but I'm already in a better situation than 2 weeks ago when I only had 2 center backs and Cristante. In this case, we already have Llorente available. Then he's asked about the Primavera. He says, what do you think about Guerrero? He says, it's early for me. He arrived a couple of months ago and is training with us every now and then compared to those who always do it like Pagano and Pisili. I always go to watch the Primavera, and this means that I pay a lot of attention to these guys, and it won't be different for him. It will be a pleasure to have him play for Roma and open up his future, but at the moment, it's early for me. Okay. By the way, I just wanted to address what was going on Twitter this past week. A lot of drama started over this comment I made about Zalewski, where I mentioned that he's a winger and that's his best position. That's not saying that Mourinho is at fault for playing him there. That is truly one of Mourinho's only options, is to put him at wing back because of the need to have that supplied. I understand what fans might think. Like he's this forward, or should I say more like a true wing back because he doesn't know how to cross. The game has changed. I can name many significant, strong wingers who don't know how to cross, but they get into the setup, play 1-2s, work cutting in from the middle of the pitch, working their way diagonally, cutting through. That is the MO now. The game has changed. To me, Zalewski will always be a more forward attacking player who should be in advanced positions. Does he suffer under Mourinho's tactics? Yeah, undoubtedly. Is that the only position, one of the few positions he can play? Yeah, it is. So Mourinho is doing what he can. This is not saying that he's a bad coach or, that if I were manager, I would do things differently. What do I know? I'm from New Jersey. Let's be honest. But that's just, I wanted to clear that up because I think there was a lot of, if we look at this, my comment here, I said there are conditions with this squad that force a manager to play his boys out of position. I don't blame him. There's limited options, but you can't watch Levski, look into his history, look into his highlight reel as a Primavera player and tell me with a straight face he's a left back. And I really mean that. And if we go into my comments here, I mean, like, you could see people losing their minds. Like, here we go. Because he scored against playing under 21. Yeah, I get that, but that doesn't change the fact of his style. And we got EJ, losing his mind here. You're indirectly blaming Jose. Yeah, that's my goal. Blame Jose, right? Anyway, it started a spark, to say the least. And we can look at the rest of what's going on in Serie A. Napoli beat Verona. They get back to winning. Kvaratskhelia there. Inter is held by Torino at halftime. Later today, Sassuolo, Lazio. Maybe by the time you watch this, that game will be over. Salernitana, Cagliari, Bologna, Frosinone, Atalanta, Genoa, Milan, Juve tomorrow. It's the late Sunday game. Udinese, Lecce, and then Fiorentina, Empoli. Fiorentina will probably get another win there, I would assume. As we look at the top four, we could see La Viola is tied for third. Or I should say they're in the fourth spot, but tied on points with Juve at 17, Inter 20, Milan 21. So it's tight at the top now. Napoli also tied with 17 points, but in fifth place. Atalanta are going to, they're in some shaky form, but it's Roma who have been the big movers lately, and they find themselves 2 games out of third spot, you could say. So not all is lost. It's early on, and I think that with the good string of form, like what we see now, hopefully Roma get back on track. They get another win, and they prove themselves that they are a legit team. Guys, let me know what you think. Don't forget to leave a comment, throw a like. If you're new here, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you directly following the match, which is early for me, Eastern Coast, New York City time, 6:30 a.m. But yeah, right after that, we'll be on. I will see you then.